Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to the weekly Book Steep where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. This is going to hopefully be an abbreviated version of my weekly wrap up. I actually have a lot of things to do today. I'm going away for the weekend, so by the time this video goes up I will be home and I need to film and I need to get the footage I need to get the footage onto my laptop so that while I'm away I can edit and upload this video. I haven't had time to make tea. I will make tea when I can slow down. So I'm here to talk about some books this week. It is release week here in Australia for kids books, so we do have all the kids review titles plus everything else that I read this week. So this is my reading week from the 20th until the 26th of June. I read 9 books this week for a total of 2,728 pages. I had 3 rereads, 3 books for projects, and 0 DNFs. Actually, I may have fibbed. There may have been 1 DNF. I can't remember if it was this week or last week. So potentially 1. Which again would be on brand. All right, I briefly want to talk about these kids titles. There will be full individual reviews for these books on my kids channel, Kidlit Joy, if you'd like to know more information. The first one is Tiki and Jill and the Great Australian Camel Race by Kate Simpson and Dr. Jill Colwell, and this is illustrated by Craig Smith. This is a narrative nonfiction story about a true event, the Great Australian Camel Race, and 2 real competitors in it, Jill and Tiki. And that is Dr. Jill Simpson. I believe this took place in 1988. I was a very, very small child then, so I didn't know about this. And it is about a young camel trainer who ends up training a wild camel, Tiki, to be part of the Great Australian Camel Race, which was a massive race across the centre of Australia. And Jill and Tiki didn't have an easy relationship initially, and there are many, many moments across the course of the race where things got a little bit perilous for Tiki and Jill, especially when Tiki runs off on Jill in the middle of nowhere. Very much it is a history of this race, of this relationship between a trainer and a camel, and the endurance required to compete in such a race. So the majority of a book is a narrative nonfiction, but there are photos and artifacts from the actual event. And then at the back of the book, there is a note specifically from Jill with some of her photos and also a brief history of camels in Australia. So this book is great for anyone who is doing Australian history, anyone who wants to be able to build background knowledge on a particular event with students. It actually all comes in one very handy dandy package, which is lovely. I also have Grow by Jess McGeachin. This is a non-fiction book. Basic main text of this book is a poem about nature. This is all about things that grow. And then on each individual page, you have the scientific names of a number of plants or things that grow in that category. So you have the poem stanzas, and then on each page you have examples of that kind of plant that grows and their scientific name. And it's not just land plants, you have sea sponges and fungi and all sorts of things, lichen. Like, it's a really, really beautiful book. There is another book that Jess McGeachin that has done that is similar to this called Kind. Again, beautiful, stunning book. Really, really beautiful. And then in the middle fiction category, middle fiction and early young adult, I read The Rebound by Fiona Harris. This is the story of Harry, whose life revolves around basketball. It's the thing that he and his dad do together. They are training him to be able to try out for the team of firsts, the first basketball team at his school, which takes basketball very seriously. They have a number of teams, but the firsts are kind of the top teams. And this all comes crashing down when Harry's dad dies suddenly after an accident. And Harry is distraught. He stops playing basketball for a while. He misses the tryouts and is told that no, there's no special consideration for his circumstances, which is interesting in and of itself. And then he ends up on what is considered the worst team at the school, and he struggles with being on that team because he is significantly better, at least at the start, than his teammates, and he acts like it. And so this puts a great amount of distance between him and his other teammates who don't really like him because they think he's a showboat. So it's very much Harry's journey with grief, him building a stronger relationship with his mother in the wake of his father's death, of building relationships with people around him, of recognizing when his grief actually causes him to lash out at other people, and that, you know, there is a component where he needs to acknowledge that what he says hurts other people, and learning how to be a team player in situations where you didn't think that you were going to have to work hard at something. I really liked it. I liked that you had a coach in here who was really positive and is not the shouty coach, which there is one of those in this book as well. It was a great book, and I've got a couple of grades at school that I think would really enjoy reading this, so I've on my recommendation list for a couple of the senior grades. I received all 3 of these books from Alan and Unwin, so thank you very much to them for sending me the review copies. Then my rereads included Seal the Deal by Lucky Hart so I could read and annotate it. I've talked about this fairly recently, so I won't go over it now. Next time I reread it, I will. But it is a contemporary romance. It features a hockey player. There's not a huge amount of hockey in this book, but there is some stuff with the hockey team because Nicholas does not play well with others, and so he is also quite distant from his team. And Andrew, who is my favorite character in this entire series, who is asexual and autistic, so the rep in here is very close to my heart. I also reread Magic Bleeds and Magic Slays by Lord Andrews. Enough said. All right, then for project books, I have finished the Sapphic Romance vlog. I just have not at this stage edited it and uploaded it, which is a problem, but I am getting there. So I read Out on the Ice by Kelly Farmer, A Tale of Two Florists by Brenna Bailey, and The Floral Arrangement by Elizabeth Luly. So when that vlog comes out, you'll get to hear all about those books, which leaves me with 2 more books. So I read 9 Goblins by T. Kingfisher, which is a fantasy novella-ish length kind of story. It is a world of goblins and monsters and wizards, and one of the main characters that we're following is Naselka, who kind of leads a goblin army, and the goblin army is kind of at war with the elves, and wizards are involved. There are some other character point of views that we get, but essentially what happens is that Naselka's goblin crew, which features 9 goblins, is transported magically by a wizard that they're fighting, and the wizard is also transported to deep behind enemy lines. And then they have to figure out how to get back, how to survive, who are their allies, etc. And then they meet a few people and they have to figure out if they're friends or foes or allies and how they can help them. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this book. The audiobook for this was fabulous and I really loved listening to it. T. Kingfisher just writes the kind of fantasy that I enjoy just popping on in the background, and I can follow along with it and I can enjoy it in the moment. It's not something I feel like I need to keep on my shelf, but it is something that I know that if I wanted to go back and listen to a fantasy story, I would actually go back and listen to this because I really liked the world building and the setup for the goblins and their connections and how they actually don't really like war, but they've kind of been forced into it. And now that's just a thing that they do. And I like the idea that wizards in this world, being a wizard is seen as, by others, as almost being a mental health condition, in that the people who have the ability to be a wizard also have a lot of mental instability. And depending on how you train and how you look after yourself and how you manage that can depend on what you do with your powers, because there is a wizard in the story who does some really terrible things and has lots of different ways of justifying exactly why she's done that. So I found it really interesting. And then the last book that I have to talk about is another audiobook that I was listening to, Chasing Sunsets by Amy Aislin, which is a hockey romance, but it's set in a small town, so there's no actual hockey in the book, but one of our main characters is a hockey player who plays professionally, who has been caught in a sex scandal and has come home for the off-season and reconnects with one of his best friends. And previously they had a relation, they'd been in a relationship, but when Dane had been drafted and had to move significantly far away, Grant decided not to go because he wanted to stay. And Grant actually works for Dane's family, who own a bed and breakfast kind of place. And they're also planning on selling this business, and Dane is caught between holding on to his parents' information they've asked him to keep quiet and telling Grant, who is someone he is reconnecting with and rebuilding a relationship with. He wants Grant to have every opportunity to be able to make decisions about his future. I really enjoyed it. Amy Aislin always has just really great stories that are very easy to listen to, easy to read, easy to follow along with, and they're quite likable. So I enjoyed diving into that one, which just leaves us with things that I'm planning on reading in the next week. At the moment, I only have one thing that I'm planning to read, and that is Home Eyes by Saxon James. I have a physical copy. I would hold it up, except I've packed it away for the weekend. I'm hoping to film a hockey weekend vlog, so there's probably going to be another hockey romance in there at some point, but we'll see how I go. Actually, the only other thing that I do have to read now that I think about it is Shakespeare in the Orchard by Danielle Binks, which is another review copy. I just didn't get to it this week. I will read it early in the week and film a review so that it goes up within the release week window. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read any of these books? Are you planning on picking them up, or do you have something else to share that you've read this week and loved? Feel free to leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, feel free to leave a sun emoji, because this sun has officially disappeared here from Melbourne. I'm sure it'll come back for a day just to tease us, and then it will disappear again. So feel free to send some sunshine my way. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.